Hello and welcome to this episode of the Irresponsible Comic Book Podcast. My name is Dylan, and I am doing a solo journey today. We are going to be talking about what we know about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The movie is going... Well, first off, if you don't know what Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is, it will be a movie made by the Marvel Studios, of course. It will be the 25th movie in the Marvel lineup. It is coming out on September 3rd, 2001. And from the sounds of it, it will be in theaters and not doing the multiple release or joint release on Disney Plus like the Black Widow movie will be doing. It is directed by Destin Daniel Creighton. This will be his fifth movie that he has directed. Overall, from his movies, they seem to have gotten fairly good reviews. Only one of them could maybe be considered a flop. From my understanding, it was kind of more of a source material issue than the movie actually being all that bad. So cross your fingers that it's going to be a good one. Being Marvel Studios, it should be a fairly good movie, as most of them haven't disappointed. This movie is actually also being written by David Callahan, who has worked on a lot of big movies over the years. Doom, the 2005, 2006 one, maybe 2004. I believe that one had The Rock in it. Not the greatest movie overall, but it was still enjoyable and fun. Godzilla 2014, the one that came out, that is the prequel to the Godzilla movie that just came out. Ant-Man, so he has worked in the Marvel Cinematic Universe already. Zombieland 2, Wonder Woman 2, the new Mortal Kombat movie that's coming out. He's also linked to be working on Enter the Spider-Verse 2, as well as the live-action Hercules movie that will be coming out as well. David is actually of Chinese descent, and he does have a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, it seems. So the fight scenes should be written well, as long as the choreograph is done as well. Good as well. So that's kind of promising, at least in a action sense, especially since it seems like it's going to be a pretty action-packed fighting kind of movies, from what I can understand. The filming of this movie has been done primarily in San Francisco, it seems like, but there have been some other filming done in Australia, just outside of Sydney, west of it, but it seems mostly in San Francisco from what I've been able to dig up. Overall, the premise of the movie is Shang-Chi is drawn into the clandestine Ten Rings organization. He is forced to confront his past that he has left behind. So there's a chance that he was a ex-gangster or gang member in the Ten Rings organization. He could have potentially gotten out, tried to do his own thing, and then is eventually drawn back in by the premise of the movie kind of railroading him into doing it. We'll get into that shortly here in just a second on my ideas on what could have happened. Shang-Chi, the main character of the movie, is going to be portrayed by Simu Liu. Sorry if I pronounce any of the names wrong. I will try to do my best to get as close to them as possible. But Simu Liu is the main character. He is actually a Canadian actor and stuntman who was born in China, it seems, and then moved to Canada when he was 5. He does know some Taekwondo, Wang Chi, and is a gymnast. He is actually set to be the first Asian actor, lead actor, sorry, first Asian lead actor in a Marvel Studios film. He does, as far as Shang-Chi, it seems that he's not going to have any superpowers. I know some comics do have him like gaining the Phoenix Force temporarily, or gaining like mutant powers here or there. But it seems like this one, in particular, he will not have any superpowers beyond the fact that he is just really, really good at martial arts and is in touch with his chi. So maybe he has some form of like Iron Fist ability where he can kind of expend his chi to make like a Hadoken kind of blast or something. Don't count on it. I would just imagine that he's just going to be a really well-trained person and can take down pretty much almost anybody because of how well-trained he is. In that aspect, Shang-Chi is actually a character originally loosely based off of Bruce Lee. So if you don't know who Bruce Lee is, go watch like Enter the Dragon or any of the old 1980s, 1970s Bruce Lee movies. They're all pretty amazing as far as like fight scenes go. And you will see who this character is based off of. It does seem like they're changing up his backstory a little bit, though. Shang-Chi, this is switching up his backstory. His father is supposed to be a gentleman named Fu Manchu, and you can kind of realize why they're not going to make his father be that character, being how racist it can come off, Fu Manchu. So from my understandings is there's a good chance that they're going to make the Mandarin his father for this movie. Just because that is a good way to bring him into whatever is going on. Dear old dad wants you to join this thing that's going on in the movie, so his dad can gain control over the world and pretty much more or less destroy it, So beyond that, his dad, being the Mandarin, if that is true, will be played by Tony Lin Yu. Tony Leung. He is actually considered one of the best Asian actors of all time. He's been acting for almost over 40 years, it seems, with quite a few roles under his belt. So we should have a good performance out of the Mandarin, or Tony Leung. It seems like the Mandarin his name is Wang Yu, or Wang Wu. We'll probably just be calling him the Mandarin in the movie. If you don't know who the Mandarin is, you can get a quick little backstory of who it is, or who he is, from, I believe it was Iron Man 3 is when he was first kind of introduced, but he was originally just supposed to be an Iron Man villain, but they kind of messed that up a little bit, but then they retconned it and fixed it with all of the stuff that they did with the All Hail the King short that was made shortly after the Iron Man 3 movie, I believe. But the Mandarin is a leader of the organization, the Ten Rings, which is a major terrorist organization who wants to destroy world peace, it seems. Based off of what I'm reading, or did read, and kind of in my research. And then the Ten Rings is in the organization itself. It's also based off of 10 individual rings. These rings are rings that the Mandarin wears around his fingers here, all 10 of them. Each one has a different power that's associated with it, and the rings were created by an alien race originally, so they're going to be kind of like a pseudo Affinity Stones, it seems, for this general saga. We could see the Mandarin getting all 10 of these rings in this movie. We'll get into this just in a second in my theories of what's going on, because there is a tournament, it seems like, that's going to be happening in this movie, so that's pretty interesting. Through my research, there's a couple different ways that this could go, though. So each ring can represent a different type of martial art, and like the solo master of that martial art has the ring. Don't think it's going that way. Another way it could go is that each ring is given to like a leader. We can call them a finger, I suppose, because they are worn on fingers, of the 10 ring organization itself. So the Mandarin gives out one of these rings for each member or leader of a separate cell. And from the Mandarin being who he is, he has like a really good control over his chi, and is so in tune with meditation that he was actually able to put his consciousness into all 10 of these rings. So there's a chance that we might see something like that, where each individual leader of each 10 ring organization, or each organization, is actually just kind of being pseudo controlled by the Mandarin's soul, more or less, that he has put into the ring and then overtaken or controlling the body of whoever the leader is. It seems a little sci-fi-y to me, and I feel like they're going to try to base this one in more fact, not really trying to go too crazy with it, I would think. So then that's kind of like where I'm going with the last one, where the rings are like being worn by people who are good at martial arts, and like Shang-Chi could have one, and that's why he is invited to this tournament. So the Mandarin has a real easy way of getting the rings, because part of the movie seems like it is the Mandarin collecting the rings. So if he doesn't have all of them, and then he holds some kind of fighting tournament, which it sounds like is going to be the thing, he brings in the people of this fighting tournament to get the rings from them once they lose, more or less. Or it's like if you can beat me in a fight, you get to keep your ring kind of deal. But it seems like it's going to be more of a tournament. A little bit more on each of these rings. Each ring has actually got like a name, which is kind of interesting too. And then before we get into the names, each ring actually is, well, the 10 rings are created by an alien race. And I'm guessing kind of that the race that originally created these rings were probably the Skrull, if we're being honest. And they were created for the Kree and just never got off planet. But the rings have names. So what is that? I believe it goes from right hand to thumb, index finger, and so on and so forth. And then goes over to the left hand. But the first ring is named Zero. The second ring is named Liar. The third ring is named Lightning. The fourth ring is Incandescence. The fifth ring is Daimonic. The fifth ring would be Nightbringer. The sixth ring is Nightbringer. Seventh ring is Spectral. The eighth ring is Influence. Ninth ring is Remaker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I must have missed one of the other rings. I'll go and look that up after. Unfortunately, I don't want to spend the time during this to look this up, or maybe the 10th ring I just missed because it didn't really say what it was, and that's the ring that the Mandarin has. But it would be kind of interesting if the rings did kind of do the thing where like the Mandarin can put his consciousness into it. So maybe like based off of when like Trevor, if you have seen the Iron Man movies, Iron Man 3, or no, sorry, Iron Man 2, not Iron Man 3. Iron Man 2, where Trevor is in it, and he is saying that he is the Mandarin. And then he gets thrown in jail at the end of the movie, and then that's when the All Hail the King comes in, where maybe it was just actually the Mandarin controlling him, and Trevor just didn't know what was going on. And then he's in jail, and when they come in and he's like, Mandarin, I have no idea who he is. He's actually telling the truth. From my research, it seems that Ben Kingsley, who does play Trevor, will be in this movie, which is kind of exciting because that was a pretty funny character overall, especially because the All Hail the King short that was brought into it. Let's see, but we'll see if that's something that happens. So it seems like I was saying that we will see a tournament to get a ring or become a boss of an organization, maybe. Shang-Chi is invited. Maybe he has one of the rings, and it's the easiest way to get him in there to get one of the rings. I have another idea that could also be like somebody that he loves is potentially kidnapped. And then that is another way that they get him there, because, or like, it could be that he has the ring and then that gets stolen, or somebody he loves gets kidnapped and then he has to go there and fight to get that person out. That is a very easy way, kind of tropey kind of style, to get somebody into doing something that they want them to do. So there's like a scene that we're guessing is from the start of the movie where there's a bus going through like Chinatown in San Francisco, and from what we think, it is like them chasing after Shang-Chi. So I'm guessing they like went up to him, asked him to join the thing. He said no, or he's chasing them, who knows, but he said no, so they had to kidnap or take something of his that is important to get him at this tournament. We could also see a few different tie-ins, because it is based in San Francisco. There's a chance that we see Ant-Man, because the Ant-Man movies are based out of San Francisco. Maybe not Ant-Man, but there's potentially Sonny Birch from the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, where he said that he has a billionaire that can spend however much money that he wants on the quantum technology. So that could be potentially the Mandarin. He also has a gentleman who works for him, whose name is Usman, who has a truth serum. A real easy way for him to get that would be to like the truth serum would be to just get it from the 10 rings or from the Mandarin themselves. We also know that the FBI agent Stoltz like works for Sonny Birch, and that could be another way that he gets information, is through Sonny Birch. And funny thing though is we know that Sonny Birch works for Jimmy Woo's team, who was in the recent WandaVision TV show that everybody ended up loving Jimmy Woo from. He was a great character, and all those memes that are coming out, it's like, I just want to see a movie of Jimmy Woo going around and doing like X-File kind of stuff. But yeah, so could be interesting to see like some of that kind of tie-ins. We'll see if Jimmy Woo is part of the movie, or even if any of his FBI agents are, or like we even see any form of like Ant-Man in the movie. I haven't seen too much more on this movie, as it seems like they're trying to keep it very hush-hush. Wanted to get this out before we get our first official trailer for it, which should hopefully be within the month. This is early April that I'm recording this, so I'm hoping by May we'll see our first trailer of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. There's a few other characters that I kind of didn't want to go into because we just don't know too much about them, other than like what their names are. The only real character of note that I can really tell is this gentleman named Razor Fist, who has been, in the comics, he's 3 different people. All of them end up being gentlemen that get their hands cut off and turned into blades, and that's why their name is Razor Fist. The person who will be portraying Razor Fist in this movie is actually Florian Mutenu. Florian Mutenu. He was most recently in the Creed 2 movie, and then he's got a couple movies that are coming out after the Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. One of them being the Borderlands movie that is currently being filmed, and he is playing Krieg in that. But overall, I'm really excited for this movie. We'll see what's going to happen with the first trailer hopefully coming out in May. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of hype out, so I just wanted to get like a small kind of video out there explaining what, as far as I can understand, what we're getting with this movie. So hopefully you all enjoy. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.